of the people who's been accused of bullying is Meghan Markle by several of her PAs at the palace who had to sign NDAs so they couldn't tell the truth. I'm sure that Meghan Markle and Harry, who want the truth to come out, would like those NDAs to be lifted, and maybe they should say so publicly, so we can hear from those PAs.
I have given up over 4 hours of my life to watch With Love Meghan, so you don't have to, and so that we can keep the Netflix views down and make sure this dastardly woman is out of business soon enough. But trust me, this is the worst TV series ever made. Shame on Netflix for producing this atrocity, and we have an incomparable lineup to reveal the truth behind Meg's latest tissues of lies.
This woman is a fraud, and people get it. She's not special. She's not a feminist icon. She gave up everything for a man, her country, her religion, her career, her family, her friends. She did it because she's a social climber. That was more important to her.
It's been years since Meghan Markle stepped back from royal duties. Years of playing the victim. Years of curated podcasts, brand launches, and carefully worded interviews that tiptoe around the real question. What actually happened behind those palace doors? But now, the tone has shifted. Not from Meghan, but from Buckingham Palace. And if what insiders are leaking is true, we could be just days away from a public reckoning that changes everything. Sources close to the palace claim that a long-buried investigation into Meghan's alleged bullying behavior is about to surface. Yes, we're talking about that investigation, the one reportedly commissioned by the late Queen Elizabeth herself, the same one that Meghan's camp has repeatedly dismissed as baseless character assassination. But according to these whispers coming from within royal walls, the palace isn't playing nice anymore. And if this report is released, it's going to be devastating.
So I just want to say that I called you either February or March 2018 before the wedding, asking, would you please give me an interview? And you said, I'm sorry, it's not the right time. And finally, we get to sit down and have this conversation.
Well, I remember that conversation very well. I wasn't even allowed to have that conversation with you personally.
For years now, Meghan Markle has positioned herself as a woman who's simply telling her truth. We've seen it in the Oprah interview. We've heard it on her podcast. We've read it between the lines in every press release her team pushes. The idea has always been the same. Meghan is misunderstood, mistreated, and misrepresented.
What to do was always make things in my kitchen, do small flower arrangements, make a lot of jam. And when I was sending those as gifts, one day Bella said, "There's a show here." And I hadn't at the onset thought that that was something that I wanted to share in that way. And creatively, we worked as partners to really find a way for it to land and for me to be able to share it.
But here's the thing. What happens when her truth crashes headfirst into actual facts? Because that's what this palace report represents. It's not gossip. It's not a hit piece. It's a documented investigation backed by emails, witness testimonies, timelines, and names. And the narrative Meghan has spent years crafting could unravel in seconds if those details contradict what she's been saying publicly. This isn't about winning the media war anymore. It's about truth. And for once, it won't be hers. So why is the palace speaking now? That's the question on everyone's mind. For so long, Buckingham Palace has followed a code of dignified silence. Queen Elizabeth kept things civil to preserve the monarchy's image. King Charles took the throne with caution, preferring peace over conflict. And Prince William? He's been laser-focused on restoring credibility and unity to the institution. But at a certain point, silence becomes complicity. Meghan has kept talking, and the royals have been watching. Every podcast, every soundbite, every subtle jab has added up. And behind closed doors, palace sources are saying that the time for restraint is over. The palace isn't acting out of anger. They're acting out of necessity. And the documents they're sitting on? They speak for themselves.
And what did we learn from Jason Knopf?
Well, a very close aide, former communications secretary, and I think I can almost guarantee that he would not have spoken to the media without Prince William's express permission. But he has opened up, particularly about the last year of Prince William's life. Of course, we know that Prince William said it was a brutal year for him. But Jason Knopf has opened up about a phone call he had with William following the Princess of Wales's cancer diagnosis.
Let's go back to where this all began. In 2021, Jason Knopf, who was then Harry and Meghan's communications secretary, reportedly submitted a complaint to palace officials. The contents were explosive: allegations of mistreatment, toxic behavior, and staff leaving in tears. One staff member allegedly described the work environment under Meghan as emotionally abusive.
Your Majesty, thank you so much for coming back to press it. So much appreciated. Can I present my Vice Lord Lieutenant, General Rowland? Your Royal Highness, welcome to Pressure. Great to see you. Understand your first trip to the north of England.
That's correct.
You're very, very welcome.
The Queen, deeply disturbed by what she read, ordered an external investigation. A formal, independent review. Not a casual HR checkup. A full-blown legal probe handled by professionals, but after the initial media firestorm, the story went cold. There was no press conference, no summary of findings, just silence. And that silence gave Meghan just enough room to declare victory. She claimed the investigation found nothing, that it was all a coordinated attack, and her supporters believed her. But the truth is, the findings were never released. And that silence? It wasn't a sign of innocence. It was a royal pause, a diplomatic decision. But now, that pause may be over. Now let's fast forward to Hollywood. Meghan has spent the last few years trying to pivot from royalty to relevance in the entertainment world. But it's not going according to plan. Her Spotify deal fell apart. Her Netflix content has fizzled. Her jam business was met with ridicule, not reverence.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the public narrative, because when you sign up to be an actress, you know that people are going to start recognizing you, they're going to start speaking to you on the street, but that's very different from what you have now.
It is, Emma. It's very different.
No. I wonder, and listen, I want to say this to you in the best way, because I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative.
And then came the podcast with British-born billionaire Emma Grede. On paper, it looked like a strong move. A duchess sitting down with a successful, self-made entrepreneur. But the reality was anything but flattering. Emma wasn't there to fawn over royalty. She asked pointed questions. She challenged vague answers. She didn't buy into the authenticity Meghan kept repeating. The word authentic was used over 24 times. But nothing about the interview felt authentic. It felt performative and behind the scenes, the palace noticed. They weren't just rolling their eyes, they were taking notes. Then there's the jam. Yes, Meghan tried to launch a luxury jam line priced at $14 a jar. She positioned it as a lifestyle choice, a taste of Montecito magic. But to many people, it just felt absurd. Critics instantly dubbed it Scam Jam. Former fans began to question whether Meghan understood her audience at all. The optics were bad. Here was a woman who had spent years positioning herself as a victim of palace cruelty, now selling gourmet fruit spread with no real message, no business plan, and no credibility. Insiders say this was the final straw, because you can't ignore serious allegations and then try to distract the world with jam jars. It doesn't work that way. Not when there are people who claim they were left broken by their time working for you. And then came the publicist purge. Meghan reportedly fired her entire PR team in one sweep. 6 people gone, some without NDAs. A panic response to mounting criticism and crumbling credibility. Those who were let go, according to sources, had spent months trying to manage the situation. They urged her to address the bullying allegations, to speak with humility, and stop making veiled comments on podcasts that undermined the palace's silence. But Meghan didn't want that. She wanted applause, and when she didn't get it, she cleaned the house. But here's the risk. Some of those ex-staffers are now being approached by journalists, publishers, even palace contacts. And if just one of them decides to talk, especially someone with documentation, Meghan won't have a PR crisis. She'll have a collapse. Behind all of this is a quieter story, one that's beginning to leak out in whispers and off-the-record quotes. Prince Harry. Sources say he's tired. Tired of being the punchline, tired of legal battles, tired of watching the brand he built with Meghan fall apart in real time. Some insiders describe their relationship as strained. One person who worked with them claimed they barely spoke during a recent joint appearance. Others say they operate like business partners now, not spouses. That the affection is gone. That what once felt like a united front is now a tired alliance. And if Harry decides he's had enough, Meghan's entire platform could vanish overnight. With Harry possibly pulling away and the public tuning out, what's left? Netflix. That's what's left. A massive multi-million-dollar deal that once seemed like a golden parachute. But even that's under threat. Insiders at the streaming giant are reportedly frustrated. There's been little content, no breakout success, and a growing sense that Meghan and Harry are more trouble than they're worth. If Netflix pulls the plug, the consequences will be devastating. No platform, no guaranteed income, no justification for maintaining their celebrity status. And the palace? They're watching. Not with fear, but with readiness.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
It was really hard. Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it.
Let's be clear. This isn't rumor. This is documented. The palace didn't conduct a casual review. They hired independent legal experts. They interviewed staffers, reviewed communications, and built a timeline. It's real, it's detailed, and it's damning. And the more Meghan speaks, the more pressure builds behind the scenes to release it. Not to punish, not to humiliate, but to correct the record. Because when someone keeps rewriting history, those who lived it can only stay quiet for so long. And if the palace goes public, it won't be a press release. It'll be a permanent mark on Meghan's legacy. The stakes couldn't be higher. Meghan's entire brand is built on being wronged, on being the outsider who challenged the system. But what if the system wasn't the villain? What if Meghan was? If the report comes out and confirms even half of what insiders are saying, Meghan's career won't just take a hit, it may never recover. And all those luxury brands, podcast platforms, and future business partners, they'll see the truth. And they'll walk away. There are also growing calls within the royal institution to take action beyond a public reveal. Senior insiders claim Prince William is actively considering a formal plan to have both Meghan and Harry stripped of their HRH titles. For years, the idea was seen as too controversial, too messy. But that thinking may be shifting fast. If the report is released and the allegations are confirmed, keeping the titles attached to their names could be seen as an endorsement the royal family no longer wishes to give. And that's where things stand. A former duchess clinging to a brand, a palace quietly preparing to release the truth, and a public that's starting to pay attention all over again. What happens next could rewrite royal history. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, because this is a story that's still unfolding. Drop a comment and let us know. Will the palace finally break its silence? Or is Meghan about to find herself alone in a spotlight that's not so flattering? Because once the report is out, the truth won't be Meghan's to tell anymore.